Here's a video on what it means to do writing with colors, no matter where you are in the writing process over the past couple of weeks with our Eve story, compare, contrast. You can jump right in. The revision, the final revision, or the final writing, if you're just joining us, whatever you're submitting needs to be in by Monday, the 18th of November. So here we go. You have this handout. Each time you do an essay, you write an essay, or a paragraph, you'll get one of these, writing with colors, color writing key. You want to take a minute to color code it so that your eye can visually find what you're looking for the different components of your essay. You also want to take a minute to make sure that you pause the video whenever you see my handwriting to write down these notes. So we know that the thesis statement, this is also an order of the essay, so the thesis statement is always first at that end of the introduction. It has to have universal ideas in it. We talked about a thesis statement having a main universal idea and then an impact universal idea. So if you look at this thesis statement, this is from our essay rebuild activity where you had all of those sentence strips and you had to put the essay back together again. If you were absent last week, you will do an online version of that, and I will show you that in a second. But here we have a really strong thesis where we're comparing and contrasting two different texts. We're finding one similarity that they both share, and that is with the universal idea of independence. That's in red. And then faint orange, you have the secondary or impact universal idea. So Eve and this writer, Hedgecock, Alison Adele Hedgecock from the other text, both represent or elicit, bring out independence, yet Eve's independence results in, so right there in yellow, we have this impact signal phrase that's going to let you know there is a result or an impact coming up. And Eve's results in hierarchy, that we learn that the systems of power is meaningless. And that's really important in a thesis statement and also in a topic sentence, which is a mini thesis statement that starts each body paragraph at the very first sentence of each body paragraph. You do need this impact universal idea that's like, so what, right? It's great that Eve has independence, but that's not a thesis. That's not a topic sentence unless we have that result. What is the effect or impact of that universal idea on Eve? And then that is going to get you really solid reasoning because you can question it. Like, well, what do I mean by hierarchy is meaningless? What does that mean for Eve? How does she convey that? What is the overall effect or result of that on her and on other characters in the story? Already by answering those three questions, I have my reasoning, because you need 3 sentences of reasoning for each body paragraph. We have a secondary or impact universal idea here for the other text for Alison Adele Hedgecock, that her independence, right, impacts. There's that signal phrase again, literally says, impacts her because she is interested in her ancestors and finding her identity. So her whole body paragraph is going to be about that, independence, finding identity, ancestors, whereas the Eve body paragraph is going to be about independence resulting in this fighting systems of power because hierarchy is meaningless. All right, so that's what I mean by a really solid thesis with impact universal ideas. So on this writing with colors handout in your notebook, you are going to go down. We've just done the thesis right here. We've done the topic sentence, and now we're going to go to specific details and actual quotes in green. So specific details really prove that you've read the story, and then of course each body paragraph needs 2 quotes under 10 words for your evidence. This is really important that you have these notes here, right here, and then also up here and here. So if you could just take a moment to pause and screenshot this and put it into your version of this handout in your notebook. Here we talk about the lead in to a quote, because a quote cannot just pop up out of nowhere as the first part of a sentence. You need to literally lead it in or introduce it by saying, like, where in the story did you find it? At the beginning, at the middle, at the end, and then we need a verb so that it's not says or shows or states, those S words. So we want to have who is the speaker, right? So in this case, in the Eve story, it would be Eve because she is the narrator. And in the Hedgecote story, it would be Allison Adele Hedgecote because she is the writer. So we have Eve emphasizes. That's okay, but we want to say, where did we find it, right? In the beginning of the story, Eve emphasizes, or Eve expresses, or Eve claims, and then you do a little comma, and then your quote. Okay, let's get down here. We have transition words or phrases. These are not whole sentences. These are just these little samples right here that kind of guide us to the next sentence. Like you wouldn't have here, you would not have an in fact, right? At the very beginning of your, as the first sentence of reasoning, because in fact tells us that you're like building on something. Same thing with additionally, moreover, ultimately, further, right? So just note, make sure it follows in order, and make sure that you've actually written something so that you can build on it with an in fact or building transition word. The yellow is super important, and these would be your sentence extenders, which are those simple words like and, because, comma, which is like one of my absolute favorites if you want to extend a sentence, comma, which plus verb, which elicits or brings out, which conveys or shows, which demonstrates. So it's really important that you have these notes right here as comma which extenders. And then really all you need for your reasoning, 3 different sentences like this. I like to start out as my first sentence of reasoning at this moment because it literally is referencing the quote that you just quoted. And then at this moment, what is happening? And then build on it with a comma, ing verb, like revealing, comma, demonstrating, comma, illustrating, right? All right, so let's just move on to the actual highlighting portion of writing with colors. So we have been doing this for the past week. If you're just joining us, it might seem a little bit confusing at first. The more you do it, the more you will get used to it. We notice that using our color key, this is the thesis, it's in pink, right? Circle your universal ideas throughout your writing, or synonyms or like phrases to your universal idea. So this universal idea is empowerment. And so anything that relates to empowerment, I'm going to circle. I also traced it here with lines. You don't have to do that, but I just wanted to literally show that there is what we call a line of reasoning, so that empowerment like flows through your entire essay with synonyms and like phrases to empowerment or whatever your universal idea is. We want to make sure, yes, does our topic sentence have one universal idea? Does it also have an impact universal idea? And it does. There's empowerment. Okay, so what? Well, Eve's empowerment results in, or the impact is that it builds her confidence so that she can confront God. That is the claim that this writer is making. So then we have green would be specific evidence from the story, detail, and because we have a sentence extender, which is very powerful because it leads us right into our reasoning. In blue, reasoning is blue. So we need 3 sentences of reasoning followed by a quote. We don't have a quote yet, so let's see. Here we go. Here is the lead into the quote. Where did you find it? Almost finishing the story. I also highlighted that as a it could be a transition phrase. I highlighted it as a sentence starter. I mean, at the end of the day, as long as you are looking at it and saying, okay, what do I think this is based on the color key? The whole point of writing with colors is to get you to notice the different pieces, like you're dissecting like in a science class, or as in like an auto mechanic. You're taking apart something so that you can then put it back together so that we can understand everything that your essay needs. So almost finishing the story, comma, that's where you found the quote in the text. Eve expresses, the speaker, and then the verb instead of says or shows. And then here we have comma quote. We have the quote in there. And then we have this really important after the quote, parentheses with a citation and then period. This conveys to the reader. I did that in yellow because you could take that and use it in any essay that you're writing. It is a sentence starter. So all of these in yellow, you could literally take it and write it in your essay. So I'm going to pause. So if you are absent, what you want to do is make sure that you have done something like this to the essay that looks like this, essay number 1 example, and that this is in your notebook. This is from last week. It is our first work for term 2. So it's important that you have done this highlighting on your own. So for absent students, one of the major grades that we had, first grades on term 2, is an essay rebuild activity, which is where a student's essay, I cut it up and every team got 20 sentence strips, and then you had to put it back together in the order that you thought it should go, and then you highlighted the different parts of the essay. That's what they did here, which is, so they basically put all these sentence pieces together on a big chart paper, highlighted the different components, labeled the different components, so it really gets you to notice on a bigger scale. What you're going to do is in the assigned slides, you are going to read the directions, and this is a digital notebook, and I use this in Zoom. It has, like, you can see the center slide, and then to the left and the right would be kind of like a working space. So this is actually your direction slide. I like to make sure that you're in here. If you could go right here, you can choose your fit or your percentage of how you're actually seeing the slide. And so I would go to 20, 25, right, under 30, because, and then you can zoom out, and then you can see. So you want to make sure you zoom out so that you're at 25. So see, I can see all the different parts. So your actual building space is the line paper. If you look at the directions, it literally says what you're going to do. The piece to the left right here of the line paper, these are all your sentence strips. And to the right, you have all your highlighting colors. So the idea is you need to take these sentence strips. There are, I believe, 10 of them. It's just one paragraph. You need to think, okay, which one is my thesis statement? That goes first, and then you drag and drop it. So if this was your thesis statement, you're going to click on it until you see this little, see how it turns into a cross here, or you want to click it, you want to drag it, you want to drop it. Okay, and then once you've done that for all of these sentence strips here to the left, you then want to come over here and you're going to say, okay, if this is my thesis statement, click the box, hover over it until you get this little cross, and then you're going to put that there if it is your thesis. Okay, and so this is the best way that I could do for absent people for highlighting. Once you have dropped, so I'm hovering over here, right? I'm gonna, if this is my thesis, like that, and then finally, once everything is, all the sentence strips are in order, you've highlighted everything as for what it is, you're going to come over here to the pink box and you're going to do the same thing, drag and drop for the actual universal ideas, words that are connected to the main universal idea. So let's say I think it's this word connect. I'm just going to drag it and drop it right there. So the idea is after you've finished everything, you will have your sentence strips in order, these boxes. You're going to have every box highlighted as one of these things, right? All these highlights. And then you're going to drag and drop the pink boxes over the universal ideas as you see them throughout these sentence strips. This is like really an essay outline to the right. So everything you see is in order of an essay. So we have our thesis statement first, then topic sentence, and then quote, right, evidence, and then 3 sentences of reasoning. Remember though that the extenders like are all over the place. So like I'm going to drag and drop, I'm going to hover until I see the little, I know this is like, there we go, the little X. Oh, so that extends it. So, I mean, this is not perfect. It is the best I could do digitally, but like let's say that this is an extender because it is, let's see, after is an extender, because I could have just ended the sentence right here. It is obvious that she connects with the animals significantly more than she connects with Adam, period. I could have ended it, but instead I extended it with this little word after, right? That's a preposition, like with, on, for, after. Those words extend sentences. So anyway, so these are your extenders. Your sentence starters, would I'm going to hover over it, see until I see. Let me just make sure you can see this. So how do you drag and drop? You click it once and then you hover until you see this little X thing or cross, whatever it is. And then if I see a starter, I'm going to drag and drop it over whatever sentence starter I see. So try your best with this. It's really important, that's why it's on term 2, that you understand what writing with colors is, and then how to color code and how to order an essay, like what order should things go, and to color code that in order. All right, let me know if you have questions. The only final thing is that if you have not written anything, right, you do have the option. I will put it on Google Classroom. So this is an essay makeup credit recovery plan for students who have not done any writing. Again, this is your first writing assessment on term 2. Really, I will extend it till the 18th, and then that's it. You'll earn 60% credit instead of a 0 for this first writing assessment if you follow these directions. You, on Google Classroom or on the physical copy in class, you would highlight each of the components using the writing with colors for the student essay, and you would also check the essay rubric right here. And so you would look at this rubric and say, okay, does this student essay have a thesis? Well, let's check it out. Do they have evidence? Okay, is the evidence, does it have a lead in, right? You're looking at this statement right here. And so then you need to figure out what it is missing based on the rubric here and based on the writing with colors highlighting that you're going to do. And whatever it's missing, you are going to add in or rewrite. So I will tell you that this is a solid foundation of an essay. It's 2 paragraphs. However, it is missing key components, and key components need to be added and then revised. And I'll give you a clue. We're not saying in the text it says as a lead-in to a quote. So you need to go back to the video at the beginning when I talk about lead-ins. It's also missing citation here. And we never want to end a paragraph with a quote. So already you have things that you can do. Again, instead of writing your essay, you can take a 60 or earn a 60 and do this instead. It will allow you to write something, and it will allow you practice with the standards that we're looking at for essay development and organization. All right, so let me know if you have questions. Thank you so much.